How's everyone doing?
Good.
Awesome. How are you?
I'm good. So, a question for everybody. Why do you feel that animation is an important tool for African storytellers?
Africans have been using different forms of art to hold story and tell story and celebrate our identity for generations, from our sculpture to our oral storytelling to us putting stuff on walls to our fabrics. And I think animation is the next tool. It's the new generation's way of exploring that. On top of those other things, like many of the directors on this panel, they use other art forms to tell a story. But I feel like it's just a continuation of various art forms we've been using, and we're kind of joining the global conversation and using animation as a language to communicate and to celebrate and to have fun. That's my opinion.
Anyone else?
I think also because as Africans, man, we were very vibrant and passionate people. I think that even if you think about like a lot of the folk tales that we have, larger than life characters, and the way we live our lives, I think that lends itself to animation, and there's a certain authenticity of how we express ourselves that in many ways animation is just perfect for.
Yeah, I really agree with this. I think that there's such a natural inclination for us to be working in animation if you're considering our oral stories, the mythologies that we already hold, all of this cultural elements. It's just like animation is such a beautiful way to bring all of these different elements together and just celebrate them and take them even further. So I think it's very natural for us to be working in animation.
I think they said a lot of what I would have said as well. I think also one of the things that I think was advantageous with animation, with some of the stories we were telling, some of the themes, questions, things we were trying to dig into, analyze, challenge our audiences with, I think doing it in the animated space allows audiences to come into it a little more gently in some forms than it would in a live action space. So I think that was important for kind of what we were looking to do in the anthology.
Okay, Tendayi, can you tell us about the project and what inspired it?
The project was born from an observation made by one of the Triggerfish people, Kevin Friedman, who'd attended, these global summits. What's the future of China, the future of whatever? And he was like, how come no one's ever talking about the future of Africa, right? And then it just kind of timed with the Wakanda Forever giant success it was, and was like, what do people watch after this, right? So we started to have conversations around a lot of, Wakanda Forever is like an African-American take on the future, and we're like, what do African creative people have to say about their own future? So we put this pitch together, we went to Disney, we're like, hey, we think we could tell really exciting science fiction stories about Africa's future. The filmmaking talent is there, they just need an opportunity. Do you want to get behind this? And Disney was like, yeah. So we did this wide research. We were like on Vimeo, we were looking at people who were doing well at festivals, kind of playing in the animation space, from concept artists to music video directors to commercials directors to writers. And we're like, who's got a super specific cool voice? And we identified 73 amazing people. And it was super important to us to have all genders represented as well. And at the time, it was like 40-60% male to female kind of ratio. And then we put a pitch out, a call to pitch out. We said, pitch us an idea that is set in the future, is an optimistic take of the future, is science fiction, and truly inhabits your own storytelling perspective. And we whittled those ideas down eventually to get to 16, and we did some development with those filmmakers, and we ended up with 10. So now we have 10 short films, 6 African countries represented, and 14 directors, because some of the shorts have 2 directors on them. And we're here talking to you now at this press junket. So we're very pumped, coming out on the 5th of July. We got to the other side after 3 years.
Okay, so I want to ask some questions about the specific films. So Tshepo, I mean, I loved how first Totem Problems shows the link that one has to their ancestors as they become an adult. So tell us, what inspired you to create this story?
So a little bit of my own story and background, and a little bit of, being a mom and seeing how my daughter's kind of existing as this cross-culture kid, which I am myself as well. I grew up outside of the country. I came back home, reconnecting with like family and just the lineage that is my people. So I did want to tell a story about somebody who is trying to find that balance. And I think right now in this modern time, which is a lot of conversations the youth are having, is around how to take what we have from the past and that power, that spiritual connectivity we have to our ancestors, but also and exist with it in this modern time as we're moving forward with all these modern things that we're doing in life and existence. So I wanted a character who was on that journey of understanding the importance of that past ancestral connection and how they can take it into their present and shift it into their future with their own control, you know what I mean, in a certain type of way. So that was the connection in my film around that.
Oh, I love that. In the same way, like Enkai also deals with the relationship between a mother and a daughter. Why did you want to, what did you want to explore through the story?
So I was really interested in sort of coming back to that point in life where you're coming of age, you're young, almost teenager, and you're, looking at your parents and seeing your parents really struggling, trying to support you, trying to go to work, trying to just balance all of the responsibilities that they have in their lives. And I could remember being that age and like really watching my mother and wanting to assist her, wanting to help her with this load that she was carrying and not being able to. So what I wanted to do was to create a story in which the child is able to support the parent in the way that the parent needs. And maybe the parent is not even aware that they're lacking or that they have this gap that is in their lives, that it is hurting their soul. And the child is able to see that, because when we look at our parents providing for us and taking care for us, it really touches us. It really affects us to see them struggling, but sometimes they're unaware that they're even in a dark place. So I also love this idea of a younger generation of girls being able to understand that us as women are carrying loads that we don't need to continue to carry. And I'm hoping that this film can inspire like women going into the future, girls and women into the future, to understand that we don't have to continue carrying generational traumas, generational loads that continue to bear down on us simply because we are women.
Oh, love
But
that.
also,
Thank you.
but also her film is very beautiful. and her, so in all of that, like I don't even know if you, and I often say this after she gives her very beautiful articulation of what was the spirit of what she did. But Ngendo has this dark, wacky sense of humor, and you see it in her film, like in the designs and the characterization. So that's the beauty of animation, that you can infuse your personality and the things you care about, but you use your artistry to kind of play with people and create the sense of play. And so anyway, I just wanted to say that it's very deep and profound, but the execution is just beautiful and super entertaining.
I think the execution is perfect for that depth and profoundness.
Thank you. So Tafadzwa, am I saying your name right? Yeah.
Tafadzwa, yeah.
Tafadzwa.
Nice.
I liked how your film showed the symbiosis of the people to the ruins and the Great Zimbabwe ruins. So did the place itself inspire your story or what?
Yes, the place did inspire a lot of the story. We actually went on a research trip there, and that really inspired the essence of what we wanted to communicate, I think when we talk about how we see ourselves in the spirit of the anthology, for instance, when Black Panther came out, one of the arguments against Wakanda was that it's a fictitious place. There's no way that African people could be at the pinnacle of anything. Yet there was a civilization that was that. And in many ways, the ruins was a sad thing, because you're like, oh, something that was great is gone. But in many ways, it's a positive thing, because it's a reminder of what is in us and what we can do. So the idea was to really create a film that in many ways is a homage to that, to the idea of there's greatness in who we are. And even if they are ruins, there's another perspective that we can look at our countries through, which is the optimism of there was greatness, and that greatness can be resurrected, right? Because ruins can always be rebuilt.
Oof, I love that. Thank you.
End the interview now. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, I was like, "Ooh, that's a soundbite." So, okay, on the theme of future, what do you hope to see in African animation going forward, for all of you?
I hope to see, a lot of energy being put into development in terms of being able to develop more stories, being able to get people to a level where they're able to present their work globally and it can be received in the right ways. I think that's really important. I think in animation and across the board. So I think being able to nurture and develop our creatives a lot more, as well as collaborate with each other a lot more, I think is something that I would love to see, like cross-country, cross-productions, cross-creative departments, more collaboration with each other, I think would be really fantastic.
I'm excited about the emergence of diverse styles from the continent that can actually influence other animation territories. It was something that was pushed for in the anthology, in that explore your own identity, explore your own shape, language, and design, and you set your own terms in terms of what you want to make. So I'm looking forward to our styles influencing the world.
I'm really just excited for people to see themselves. In our film, for instance, when we were doing the casting for one of the roles, I'll never forget this. We interviewed a Zimbabwean 16-year-old girl who was living in the UK, and I remember the first thing she said to me when she did her audition was like, I can't believe this is a real thing, and that people like me and people like us are gonna have opportunities like this. So for me, I'm hope that that feeling is gonna permeate everyone who watches this and realizes this is our time as Africans.
Yeah. Yeah, when we're working on our films, like on my project, it was really important to be able to have as many African creatives involved within the creation of the artwork in the production. And I feel it's when we weren't able to get people at the exact caliber that we needed, we did have some people who were involved who were learning on the project. So it's essential that when we're getting into these spaces that we're not just walking into rooms and forgetting the people who are still outside. So it's important for us to hold doors open. And as much as possible, I would really urge that whenever any of us get these big opportunities to work on these projects, is to hold the door open for other people to come in, because that's how we are here as well. Someone else held the door open for us to be here. And by doing so, we can help to grow the animation industry across the continent.
Perfect. I still have more time. Okay. Yeah, okay, 2 minutes left. Okay, quickly, what do you hope audience take away from watching Kizazi Moto?
That Black people are beautiful. That's what I want to add. Melanin, hair, everything.
Well, and that Africa is diverse. We're not just one identity. And like just here, we've got 3 nations represented. And we're all so different, but we have so much in common. And so that even though our skin and maybe our personal experiences might be different, that we're actually kind of the same. So hoping that audiences see themselves in our work.
Yeah, I think there's been a question about how people can see themselves in our films. And I think we are understanding already that Africa is the origin of all humankind. And here are our projects, and people are asking, how is the world going to connect? You should connect because we are the origin. And these projects, you are within all of these projects. When you're seeing people who look like us, understand that the origin is from our continent. So connect.
And have some fun. It's also entertainment. We made these things to express some joy and entertainment. So laugh, ululate with us, dance with us, but just enjoy it with us as well. Just have a good time. I think at the end of the day, that's what we're looking for.